Very good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're joining us from all around Australia or indeed the world. Welcome to the gateway to hypothermia, Phillip Island, Victoria, and the penultimate round of the RSRA Super Series. Good evening, everyone. Zach Caban and Chris Kisby with you for what should be an awesome outing here on home turf. We've done all the flyway rounds, 7 different countries in the first 10 weeks. And now we get down to the business end of the championship and we do it in our own backyard. This week, Phillip Island. Next week, Mount Panorama. Kisby, good evening to you. Critical point of the championship. A big name back on the grid at long last. But this is still Dylan Rudd's championship to lose.
It certainly is. Good evening, viewers. Good evening all over the world. And yes, the runaway Rayner is back. He messaged me last week and said, guess who's back? And it was good to see. So we'll see him on the grid. Dylan Rudd's, as you said, Dylan Rudd's championship to lose. But let's see how they go when we get another fast guy in the mix. There's that.
Indeed. And of course, we only have to look back to the first couple of rounds of this season to know that Dylan Rudd and Rayner Costello are on par. The pace is very similar. They pushed each other each and every step of the way in those first few rounds of the season. Then Rayner's gone away, and Dylan Rudd's just absolutely bloody well walked away with it. And we wait and see what he might do tonight with Rayner back on the grid. Now, exciting times here because obviously these are the last 2 weeks of this season, and then in the next couple of weeks, it'll become well known what the go is for season 3. And later on tonight in our post-race show, a lot of our guys will be here to have a chat about, in terms of our top 3, that is, have a chat about the new additions to the iRacing server, which were announced on Wednesday last week after, of course, our broadcast of round 10 on Tuesday night. And I think as supercar fans and Australian motorsport fans, most of you will be very happy with what's going on in iRacing circles at the moment. Let's have a look at the championship points at this critical point of the season. And it's one-way traffic at the moment. 128 the margin between Dylan Rudd and Rehan Leonage. Geez, Rehan was impressive last week at the Twin Ring of Mategi. Dylan Pereira, 1,351. That battle for second and third continues because look at it. Just 49 points between second and fourth, and a double points round coming up next week. So plenty still on the line here. 450 points still up for grabs at a minimum. Of course, if you can capitalize and grab your bonuses, it's a few more on top of that. Matthew Scholes rounds out the top 5 at the moment. Then Peter Crossingham, again a tight battle between 5th and 6th there. Courtney Dodd, 7th and 8th. Alex Todd, Aaron Dodd, 10 points separating them, and only 2 back to Simon Chadwick and another 4 back to Dean Reddit. So the battles are alive, thick and fast here. There's no doubt about that. Dean Alessi, Craig Schultz, Alan Dawson, Brian Cooper and Lindsay Hobbs make up the top 15. But we're watching that battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We're watching that battle for 5th and 6th, and then that 4-way fight for 7th. So, I mean, whilst the title is in Dylan Rudd's hands at the moment, and it's going to take one hell of an effort for someone to claw it out of them, we are at a point where it's all the little nitty-gritty bits down through the order, Chris Kisby, that need to be able to sort themselves out over the next couple of weeks. And just because we place a lot of emphasis on first doesn't mean there isn't bragging rights up for grabs for the minor placings, because it looks good when you're trying to attract, I know this is SimWorld, but sponsors still play a key part.
That's exactly right. Even though first position's taken, there's another, so some people that their main aim is to get into the top 10. So we've got to look all the way down the field there to see who's possibly going to make that top 10, top 5. I know I like to, in this particular arena, I'm looking for a top 20, top 15, and then I'm working my way up as I go through. But it's you've got to look at these things all the way through, and each individual driver will have his own goals. And let's hope that they reach those goals, Zach.
All right, we'll have a look at the track info in a moment as well. We're going to have a chat to Alex Court before we get going here as well. But first, let's get stuck into a hot lap of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, and the one and only JP will steer you through a lap of this marvellous bit of real estate.
Welcome to the Real Sim Racing Australia Super Series and Super 2 E Series. I'm JP, and today I'm going to take you on board my Goodyear Auto Care Warana 888 ZB Commodore for a hot lap of Phillip Island. I'm looking for a good clean exit out of turn 12 onto the Garden Straight. Going cleanly through the gears, making sure not to hit the rev limiter. Get the car all the way across as far as you can to the left of the track just before doing corner. On the brakes now, trailing the brakes, turn early, get on the power, nice and early, get a clean exit out of doing corner. Get the car across mid-track, trailing the brake into the southern loop. We're using the brake and throttle here to balance the car. Get on the power, nice and early, coming out of the southern loop. Nice and smooth application of the throttle, going through the gears. Flat through Stoner corner. As soon as the car straightens up, on the brake hard, shifting down to first gear into Honda. Short shift into second, get on that power as early as you can. Get the car across to the right, use the ripple strip as a guide going into Siberia. Nice and early on the power to exit here. Now we're on our way to turn 7. We can take this flat through here. Enjoy the roller coaster ride through Hayshed as we head up to Lukey Heights. About mid-track, shift into fourth gears, trail the brakes as we go across Lukey Heights, coming down here. Early on the brakes, shift into first gear, through MG, early into second gear, short shift into third gear as we go around turn 11, and now we're looking for that all-important run through turn 12 here, balancing the throttle to help the car turn in, going through turn 12 as fast as we can, and we're on our way to the finish line. Well, that was a hot lap of Phillip Island for the Real Sim Racing Australia Super Series and Super 2E Series. Back to you guys.
Very nicely done from JP, taking on a lap of the Gateway to Hypothermia. We'll have a look at the track info in just a moment. There's the aerial shot, ocular aerial
Oh,
photography,
look,
of
there's
course.
Tasmania just over there.
Yeah, Tasmania's just over there as well. So this is one of those interesting points of the broadcast where we actually get to do a pre-race interview, but there's two reasons for it. One, we want to have a chat to Alex Court, and two, he wants to give a shout out to one of his mates. So we're going to let him do that. But first, Court, welcome in. Nice to have you on the broadcast as per usual. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had you in the booth for a chat. Quickly, nice effort last week, Twin Ring Motegi. What are your thoughts going into tonight, mate?
Yeah, thanks, boys. Yeah, look, it's been a while since I've had a chat, but yeah, something popped up with a mate of mine from Racing with Autism. He unfortunately got taken to hospital last night, so I messaged JP and said, look, is it possible to jump in the broadcast before the race or after the race to give him a shout out? So Benny, if you're watching, mate, wishing you a speedy recovery. Like I said to you last night, we're all here for you. We're all family at Racing with Autism Australia. So all the best, dude, and speedy recovery.
And that
Yeah.
goes for all of us as well. Absolutely. Well said, mate. What's your plan of attack for this race before we let you go, please?
Yeah, look, it's just going to be a matter of staying on the track and doing what I do best and picking through the spots in front of me. I was hoping to be a little further up the pack this week. I've put the hours in, but yeah, it's been a struggle with setups for quality this week. So hopefully we've got the right setup for the race.
All right, mate. Well, we've got our fingers crossed for you. Go well tonight. We'll hopefully touch base with you at the end.
Yep, no worries. Thanks very much, boys.
Have a good one, mate.
Have a good night, guys.
All the best to Alex Court. His teammate, Rehan Leonard, has had a stellar qualifying. He had a stellar run last week. He's gone sixth on the grid this week. It's still in right on pole position from Rayner Costello. We'll get to all of that in just a moment. Cameron Jones third. But first, let's have a look as you see the aerial shots there. It's an early morning start for the teams and drivers in the RSRA Super Series at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Let's have a look at the race information for you. It is a 4.445 kilometre course, 36 laps, the race distance tonight, 160.2 kilometres, 65 kilometres an hour along pit lane, 52.8 litres fuel restriction for these cars. And I'll crunch the numbers and what all that means for you in just a moment. 2 pit stops, 3.4 litres a lap fuel burn, 2 sets of tyres. The set they start on, the set most of them will take in the second pit stop there. And today's date, August 31, 2021, 10 past 9, 18 ambient, 19 on track there. That's the temperature gauge there for you. And the winds, strong westerlies, 19
jumper weather for you,
kilometres
Zach.
an hour. Sorry, Chris Kisby?
I said that's jumper weather for you.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, absolutely. Although that being said, 19 degrees on an August day at Phillip Island at this time, I mean, that's pretty generous as well, if I must
It
say,
is
for
very
my
generous.
ratings. Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's crunch the numbers that matter. 52.8 divided by 3.4 is going to give you 15.52. So it's only just 2 pit stops. I mean, if you get a couple of safety cars along the way here tonight, you might be able to
Dave?
stretch that out. Yeah. However,
Yeah, you might be able to.
15.52. So you're looking at most of them will come in 15 and 30, or, there's a great range in which you can play with in that second round of pit stops, because the critical number, if you can, let's say 22 is the critical number, that gives you 14 home and then the 1 cool down lap as well. So let's call 22 the critical number. Anytime from there till about lap 30, you'll see cars diving the pit lane in that second stint, depending upon what most of them do in the first stint as well. So it's one of those races where strategy will play a big part, because at the end of the day, Chris Kisby, you've got a lot of flexibility, a lot of leeway in terms of it's not exactly as strict as what we've seen in terms of when you need to do those pit stops to get home.
Yes, that's right. And to be honest, I'm not 100% on the safety car. There's lots of runoff on this track, so you're going to have cars running off. If they do get into a bit of trouble, they'll be off to the side. Safety car is probably not going to play a position, so we're going to look at our 2. But as you said, if we do get a safety car and they can stretch that fuel out, then they may get home with one stop.
All right, we're about to have a look at the grid here, Kisby, and get going. 36 laps tonight, 160.2 kilometres the journey. And the car's lining up on the grid now.
Ready up.
Dylan Rudd, Rayner Costello from the front row. Second row, Cameron Jones, and also Peter Crossingham. Third row, Jamie Dyke. And that's a good qualifying for Peter Crossingham, actually. Jamie Dyke and Rehan Leonage, third row. Sean McNamara, Michael Angus, fourth row. Then Kai Turner, Craig Schultz, Simon Chadwick, and Matthew Scholes take us back to row 6. Kisby?
Yeah, row 7, David Kirby, Dylan Pereira. Row 8, Dean Alessi, Alex Court. 9, Brian Cooper, Jacob Brewer. 10, Dean Powell, Brenton Nishke. 11, Dean Reddit, Hayden Norris. 12, Robert Chrisdale, Mitch Campbell.
Row 13 is where you'll find Chris Barnes and Rick Zebra, and Rod Hollis will round out the field. Now, an interesting note, incident points kick in at 16x and every 9x thereafter as well. That's the one piece of info we never put on the track info sheet for you, but it is important too, because you can just as easily grab a penalty from iRacing as well as grabbing a penalty from race control. The penultimate round of the season, round 11 ready to fire. Tuesday night motorsport underway. Great start on the inside from Dylan Rudd, but an equally good start from Rayner Costello, who got across and blocked the attack from Cameron Jones on the run to Dillon corner for the first time. Great getaway.
Wow,
cleanly. The field gets through without incident in the first corner. We've had a safe start to the Racecraft Simulations 160 as they make their way down towards Stoner Corner and then Honda Corner for the first time. Just look at how good the aerial shots are tonight at the gateway to hypothermia. Hard on the brake. Dylan Rudd leads the field.
All the way
Rayner
down to first.
Costello's going to follow him through. And we've had a nice, clean start, although now that's trouble. Trouble at the back. 3-4 cars involved off the circuit. Jamie Dyke, one of those. So too Jacob Brewer and Matthew Scholes. I'll all get back.
Look at this.
That we knew Honda Corner would be a critical point of the opening lap, with everyone trying to get through at once. And unfortunately, the real estate just not too wide enough, Kisby, on that occasion.
No, that's right. And look at this, mate. No sooner back than the battle is on again. Rayner Costello, Dylan Rudd in the front there. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting how Rayner plays this out tonight. And he's not going to catch Dylan, of course, but he could play a little bit for some of the others going through. So we'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. But what a
Now,
start!
Ju-
What a
just,
start!
just importantly, Matthew Scholes still off the road. Still off the road, completing 0.54 of a lap here. He's parked at the outside of at Siberia, and that may well trigger our first caution of the night. This is what everyone will be hoping for, to extend that first fuel window out a couple of laps. We'll wait to see if the safety car gets deployed. Matthew Scholes off the circuit. Dean Powell off the circuit at the moment. Matthew Scholes is parked on the exit of Siberia as Dylan Rudd, Rayner Costello make their way down to Honda once more to turn 4. Nice move, aggressive, forceful on the inside. Rehan Leonage gets the better of McNamara to 5th. Through they go, first time since that opening lap scuffle, and the field has now properly sorted themselves out. Jacob Brewer still off track there. And Jacob Brewer in pit lane, I should say. Safety car has been deployed. The field's slowing down. The safety car has been deployed. Matthew Scholes off the circuit. Jacob Brewer in pit lane. Rod Hollis down in 25th position. Dean Powell back to 24th after his off-track excursion. But we do have a safety car at the island. Here's how it happened. So this is Jacob Brewer. On the run down. Oh, no. Bang.
Bang.
That was a 3-car pile-up. So that's why Brewer's in pit lane with damage. And unfortunately, Scholes, this is going to be a case of he's going to attempt to drive away from turn 4. And that car is not going to want to be friendly with him. And that's why he's pulled it up at the exit of 5. So he got it off the racetrack, got it parked up against the wall. But race control want to get him out of there and get this race back underway. Therefore, we have our first safety car of the night. Dean Powell in pit lane, Jacob Brewer in pit lane. Jacob Brewer having suffered damage in that big hit. That could be curtains for him. We'll wait and see. Dean Powell back out on the track on that note. Dylan Rudd, the fastest lap of the race, 1:32.4. Kisby, we got that early safety car that a couple of these drivers will be happy to have.
Yeah, but is it a little bit too early though into the stint? So I mean, it's only going to give you an extra 2 or 3 laps, but yeah, it'll pan out in the end. But sometimes you can get your safety car a little bit too early.
Yeah, true.
To be of any benefit, anyway.
So we wait and see whether the safety car will go around one more time or whether it'll come in this time by. Once the lights go out on the headlights there, that's the indication that Lee Davis, driving the safety car for us, will be coming to pit lane. Lights are still on. Dylan Rudd, the leader. Rayner Costello there in second. Cameron Jones is third. Top 4 remain where they started. Peter Crossingham, the last of those. Craig Schultz remains 10th where he started. No one else in the field has managed to stay where they started. Big movers so far. Dean Reddit up 6 positions to 15th. Chris Barnes up to 17th from 25th on the grid. And Rick Sibra from 26th up to 19th. It looks like this safety car might just go around one more time.
Yeah, lights are still on.
So we will get a restart at the start of lap 5, I think you'll find here, folks. And, I mean, that's a big blow for Jacob Brewer, but it just looked like he got a little bit too wide there through 3, Kisby. And once you get on the grass, as you've seen in the real world, you're a passenger.
Oh, these things, they're just deadly once you hit the grass. You just skate across the top. And, of course, with the extra power, if you're trying to fight it and sit there, the more you try and modulate your acceleration or your accelerator to keep your movement or momentum, it just flicks around here. You flicks right, flicks left. I have all sorts of trouble once I'm on the grass with accelerator modulation.
So if you're just joining us on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, it's Tuesday Night Motorsport. The Racecraft Simulations Phillip Island 160, round 11 of the RSRA Super Series. And of course, is season 2 of 3. The big news that we'll have a chat to a lot of these drivers about after the fact tonight is that we've got a couple of other Victorian venues joining the iRacing platform for 2022, I'm going to say, because unless they want to launch them very late into season 4 this year, we'll wait and see. But it looks like, yeah, it'll be something that we'll see a heck of a lot of in 2022. So we're excited by that. especially those of us that have been begging and pleading for more Aussie content on this service since it really rose to prominence in the racing community 12 months
Yeah,
ago or
it
18
seems.
months ago under the cover of COVID, Kisby.
Yeah, it is, and it seems that a lot of people, especially with what we were talking to. Of course, we've done a couple of broadcasts already with the TGSRC, and they're excited about Sandown, but they're not so excited about Winton. Now, I'm yet to go and Google the two and see what they're talking about there, but Winton, not really for the muscle cars. It's more a smaller motor car, and from what they've been talking about. But Sandown, they are absolutely really looking forward to pace cars speeding up here.
Well, that would mean that we'll go green this time by Kisby. So 4 laps in the book. Pace car was deployed at the end of lap 2 and out for 2 laps. We'll get it into the lane and we'll get this race back underway. So the field is in the hands of Dylan Rudd. It's in his control. As soon as the foot goes to the floor, we'll get back to green here at the island. Round will come onto the main straight. This is a critical restart for Rayner Costello. Needs to go with him as soon as Dylan Rudd hits the gas. Go, that's it.
And there they go.
Great jump from Dylan Rudd. Really good jump. 2 car lengths, easy on Rayner Costello. Jones and Crossingham tucking behind, so does Leonage and McNamara. Make our way down towards the first corner. Let's see how it goes.
Benefit
Will they
you get
get through
being in the
cleanly
lead.
this time?
Jumping all over the place here. Rayner's getting a good run out of there.
Phenomenal restart from Dylan Rudd,
Wow.
but Rayner's gone with him. Everybody else cleanly as well. How good's the safety car, by the way? I mean, we have one of the best safety cars in all of iRacing. Car 555 gone for contact
Here
on
we
car
go.
066 on lap 1. So the car number 555 is coming towards pit lane. Unfortunately, that will be Robert Crisdale. So a penalty to be served by Crisdale in the next couple of laps here. On board with the 888, Alex Court. Good start from Court. Started 16th, already moved up to 11th, up 5 positions early on. And is on a charge at the moment, trying to go with Craig Schultz over Looking Heights. And down they go. Move here behind Court. It's Brian Cooper trying to get down on the inside of Dylan Pereira. Does so. Pereira being boxed down that low. That won't help. Now, drive-through penalty also for the 066. For contact on lap 2, that's Brenton Nitschke. For contact on 88, Dean Powell. And Nitschke is the second driver to cop a penalty tonight. Across the line we go. That's this is critical. We need to focus on this. Dylan Pereira being that far down the field and struggling, Kisby. He's down in 12th. Rehan Leonage is 5th. If anything, Pereira needs to get a wriggle on here, or otherwise Rehan Leonage is really going to cement himself as second favourite in the championship, as far as and most likely the favourite for claiming second at the end of next Tuesday night, which, reminding you, is a double points round.
Well, that's right. And it's as we were saying there earlier, each driver has their own goals. And at this stage, young Rehan, he knows that he can't get first, but he's got a chance of second. So he's going to fight tooth and nail to actually get up there and get second on the podium for the championship. So each individual driver has their own goals, has their own ambitions, and it's never over until the last race with all these point systems.
Plenty of ramifications when you have a look at the point system. I mean, technically, Dylan Rudd, who will come across the line this time by, already clocked the fastest lap of the race last time round, 128.01. This time by goes across the line. Look at that. Nice, fast time here. Cameron Jones all over the back of Rayner Costello. It was Jones who had the fastest lap of the race that time round, 127.96. Whoa! Totally and off! Big moment for Jones going through time 1. Fastest point of the circuit. He just gave it up. Got back on the circuit ahead of Alex Corder. Was it Rehan Leonage? I think it's Rehan. Oh, what a save from Jones, but he's lost bunch of spots in the process there. He's lost out to Peter Crossingham, and he's lost a lot of ground to Rayner as well. And now look at Leonage. Look at this. Down on the inside, trying to get by McNamara, muscling his way through. Oh, the elbows are out early, and McNamara gets him back. Now we'll look to take Michael Angus with him. All of a sudden, Rian's hung out with nowhere to go. Oh, wow. Just hearing through
have
it,
a
mate.
look at that.
Whoa! I tell you what, you can't use much more of the real estate than that up over Lukey Heights. How good's this? How good's this? Now, what should be pointed out, Cameron Jones might get done for an unsafe rejoin. We'll have a look at the moment again here. He went wide through turn one. I don't know. We didn't get a great angle of it. All I saw was just Jones. It looked like, he got it crossed up. That's why. He got it crossed up on the run into one. That brought him undone. Unsettled him.
Now he's skating.
Onto the grass. Tried to get it back on. Lost out to Crossingham. And now he's come out in front of McNamara and Leonage.
He'd be personally, I think he'd be hard done by there. He's kept it as straight as he possibly could and given every chance for the cars to go round him. But he's actually been skating across that the grass. And had he have turned it a little bit, then it would have been all sorts of carnage behind him. So credit to keep that car straight on that particular section when he was sliding across the grass. So even if he wanted to stop coming back on the track, I don't think he could have stopped himself.
Well, here's one for you.
There. Yep.
I mean, this is the thing from my perspective. It's a game of centimeters, millimeters, inches, isn't it? And he just got either the braking marker wrong or the turning marker wrong, and one or the others meant that he's gone all taily sideways, and that's what's thrown him onto the grass. I knew something was up. It just didn't look right when he went through the corner on the first shot, and we were looking at the shot that didn't give us a great look at exactly how wide he was. We knew it wasn't looking good, but we couldn't tell how bad until we saw the grass being kicked up.
Well, that's exactly right.
And he's, as you said, he's bloody lucky that it wasn't a lot worse than that. And someone with less experience might not have been able to control it as well as Cameron Jones did, more to the point, to his credit, I should say.
Put my hands up to that. Yeah,
me too.
When you're coming back onto the track there, it's all about keeping that car straight as you possibly can, because you've got no control about where you're going. You're just sliding across the grass, and you're just trying to regulate, keep it as straight as you possibly can. Once you get the wheels on the tarmac, then you've got some sort of control as to where you're going to go. Now, if you have that steering wheel in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're going to shoot straight in to cars that are coming through on the driving line. So, as I said, all kudos to the way that he handled that car to get it back on the track as straight as possible. But we'll see what the race control has to say about it, and wait for that or race control coming through. There is a penalty coming through, but I can't see what it was.
Yeah, there is a penalty, and it is for the 957, the contact on Alex Court. So the 957 is Simon Chadwick. So there's been an incident that we haven't seen between Court and Chadwick, and Michael Angus is in, so too Simon Chadwick. Now, that's interesting that Angus is in. Very interesting that Angus is in. Maybe he's on the undercut. Maybe he's coming early because this is one of the options you've got. Because of the fuel burn, you can two-stop it from here and get home comfortably. And maybe Angus is playing the undercut. Simon Chadwick, we know why he's in. David Kirby's in as well. So I think the Calamari Racing boys are up to something there, and they're both in pit lane at the same time. They may be playing the undercut. They would have crunched their numbers. They've got Parry and Astakis in their corner. They would know where and when they can pit and make it home. So don't be surprised if they're on a two-stopper from here, and a longer stint is coming second time round. Now, down the inside, Rehan Leonage and Sean McNamara are arguing over the same piece of real estate. Leonage is now losing out to Kai Turner. Up on their tail is Craig Schultz. Dylan Pereira has got back into this fight up into ninth now. So just two positions between. As I said earlier, before we focus on the incident with Jones, ramifications for Pereira, every position he falls behind Leonage, it's gone from 6 to 2 in about 3 laps, and Leonage is on the back foot all of a sudden. So Pereira
Yeah.
will be breathing a sigh of relief to a point.
Well, that's right. And I don't think young Rehan has gelled with this track as yet. We saw him qualify down lower than what he normally does. And he just doesn't seem quite as comfortable with this track as some of the other drivers. But hopefully he can get it together. And the more laps he does, the more confident he'll get with it. He'll watch a couple of the other drivers and their lines and then start to get a bit of confidence in the driving there. But yeah, no, having Parayanastakis in your corner is one good thing. So they'll have their numbers absolutely right down to the last lap that they need. And what a man to have behind your team.
Okay, just quickly, Dylan Wright leads, Rayner Costello, Cameron Jones, Peter Crossingham and Sean McNamara. We've had a little bit of an issue with our graphics card there. You might have seen, folks. Our timing actually went down internally here for a moment as well. So just bear with us. We'll do our best to talk you through it. Lap 11 to 36. We know that much. Now,
It was like me on Friday night.
I know that Race Control will be having a look at this, and it comes straight from the rule book, and it's with regards to the incident regarding or involving Cameron Jones. Any car that leaves the racing surface must rejoin the track in a safe manner as to not interfere with other cars. Penalties will apply for dangerous rejoins. Now, I'm not in a position to adjudicate that. Chris, you have race control experience. You've already said that you reckon Jones will be hard done by, but we know that race control will be looking at that closely, no doubt.
Yeah, of course, you got to look at it, and you got to look at it from the point of view, did he come in and he was way slower than everybody else, then he shouldn't have come onto the track. But if he was at the same speed and he didn't check them up and came in nicely, then I would have said, yeah, okay, he hasn't impeded anyone as he's come around. And it didn't seem to me that's what happened. He had enough momentum that he didn't impede them too much. But, yeah, that's from my limited experience in race control and the way I would have looked at it. But we'll see what race control here has to say.
Indeed. And can I just say, race control. Well, yeah, exactly. Race control, can I just point it out, they've been very consistent all season as this battle between Leonage and also Schultz continues. Leonage getting down on the inside. Schultz a little bit tailing on the exit. And Rehan Leonage holds on to 7th at this point in time. But what's good? What is really good from my standpoint, Kisby, about race control here? We maintain a pretty similar team week to week. It's not chopping and changing. The lineup remains consistent. So these guys out on track become very familiar with the guys they're dealing with in race control, the adjudicators. And the problem with if we were in a situation where we didn't have the same race control lineup week in, week out, and we were chopping and changing, then it would become an instance rather. Geez, I'm having trouble tonight. Where, oh, hang on, we've got trouble. Chris Barnes, Simon Chadwick off the circuit as well. They've managed. Chadwick's still off the circuit, and now has managed to get back on. This is going through the hay shed. And Chadwick, looks like on the way up to Rookie Heights, has gone well deep and off the circuit. Yep.
There you go.
So, yeah, you're right. It is 2 separate incidents, no doubt about that. Yep. But what you would have an issue with if you had a different race control manager each week, Kisby, would be interpretation of the rule. Whereas at least when you've got the same team, same interpretation week in, week out, things remain consistent. And that's what I like about the RSRA Super Series, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and that's before, when I was doing it on a regular basis, we had consistency. The guys, okay, I made mistakes, I made the wrong calls, but it was consistency. And you looked at it afterwards and you thought, oh, yeah, no, maybe I could have made a better call there. And then you looked at it for the next week. But it was the guy, you were firm in your decisions and consistent with those decisions. So the guys got to know that you weren't going to take any rubbish, and they got into racing rather than sitting there trying to push the door, so to speak.
Correct. Through they go again. Lap 13 and 36 again. Whoa! Big touch through. The 0-2-0. Whoa, that was huge. That was Hayden Norris giving Jamie Dyke the big hurry up.
I'm
Big
here. I
nose
want to
there,
come
and
through.
Dyke did well to hold on to it. Turner, Alessi, Norris, and Hollis all in. Remember, we said we'd see a varying range of strategies tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, these guys have got the capacity to do that tonight because of the way the fuel numbers are. They can get somewhere in the vicinity of 15.5 to 16 laps to a tank here. We had that caution. They only need to stop twice, but they've got so many different mathematical equations that can play out here. If you go the long haul, you go 16 or 15, 16, somewhere around there, then, you know, somewhere between... You could do another 16 laps, but we know people won't do that because of the fact that they want to get on those fresher tyres. So you could take it as far as 30, 32, 31 even, and then do a very short stint home. That's not practical in the sense of the tyre race. So, I mean, 15, 16, that's going to be the ballpark for a lot of these guys. Some of them will go beyond that because of the fuel they save behind the caution. And then we'll see a lot of people make their way down into pit lane for the first time. When they decide to make that second stop, that's up to them. And our job is to try and make sense of all of it. And I don't think we're going to be able to successfully do that until the end of the second round of pit stop.
Exactly.
Here comes Rick Dibber into pit lane on that note. And also Dean Reddit and also Mitch Campbell. And here is Rehan Leonage holding off Craig Schultz still, the battle for sixth.
The leader's still staying out. They're on lap 15 now, so we'll look at things will start to become a little bit clearer as to what they're going to do. These guys are going to push it right to the limit, empty their tanks right out, and then get whether they get a short fill to get a few in, just enough to get that last tank home, and then bam, sprint to the finish.
Absolutely. So, 15 of 36 at the moment. Rudd, Costello, Jones, Crossingham, McNamara, Leonard, Schultz, Pereira, the top 8, then Cooper and Court. Court past Dyke. Into position 10 now. So Alex Court sits in the top 10. 22 to go at the island. It'll be 21 next time by the line. Round 11. RSRA Super Series on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. And the intensity of these first... I mean, okay, Phillip Island has a tendency of throwing up some hit and miss races, but the intensity here so far tonight has been top shelf, obviously helped by that safety car on the early stanza. And now into pit lane comes Peter Crossingham from 5th position. Sean McNamara, 4th. Chasing after Cameron Jones. Jones chasing after Costello. Costello after Rudd, but fairly even margins between them at the moment. Back we go to have a look at where we've got Chrisdale and Chadwick on screen here at the moment. I just couldn't pick up the number as they were going through past the sun glare to MD corner, and they're both in right now. So this is 13th and 14th, both in now. Barnes continuing on. Top 10 on the racetrack are the, well, that's the way it stands at the moment, but the corrected order will become a lot clearer in the next few laps as those that pit have trickled down the order. The best placed of those that's pitted, or those that have pitted rather, Peter Crossingham in 11th. Top 13, with the exception of Crossingham, yet to stop. Look at this! Dylan Pereira and Craig Schultz side by side on the exit of Siberia. Now on the run up through the hay shed, then to Lukey Heights, and all in the meanwhile, this is allowing Rehan Leonage to skip clear. The pressure off the young bloke's shoulders, that's exactly what he would have wanted. Down to NG. Nice one so far from Dylan Pereira. Rudd, Costello in at the end of 16. So to Jones. McNamara opts to follow around onto the main straight. So McNamara's going to go on with it for another lap.
Yep.
And that will be interesting to see how that plays out. Leonage follows him on. So to Schultz and Pereira, but the top 3 are in.
Okay, let's see what their pit times are.
Critical point right here, Kisby. We would not expect them to be taking tyres at this point, and a short fuel would indicate that they'll be in earlier than later for that second set of tyres.
Who's away first? I'm watching.
But they've all gone a long fuel. They have all gone
They
a
have.
really long
They're
fuel.
filling
Dylan
right
Rudd
up.
first away. Costello second away. Then Jones. But they've
Yeah,
all
1,
gone
2,
a long
3.
fuel. So now it's a case of whether they've taken tyres in that first stint. I didn't see anyone. I'm not sure if anyone opted to take tyres in that first stop. If
I
they
didn't see the
did,
cars go up.
it goes against the norm. If they didn't, they've all fueled long in the hope of having a shorter pit stop just for those tyres and a top up of fuel next time by the lane.
Well, that would probably make a bit more sense, is to sit there, because the tyres are changed at the same time the fuel, you might as well leave enough in the tank we got 2 wide round. Who's that in front of Rayner? Dylan Rudd, Brenton Nitschke.
Oh, this is awesome stuff. Whoa! They're rubbing
Whoa.
poles! They're
And
rubbing poles! And Nitschke's gone into the wall! And he is stuck. He's managed to get it off there, thankfully. That'll keep us under green. And now look at this! Costello and Rudd side by side going through the hay shed. And now Costello's left to tuck back in. McNamara and Leonard, Schultz, Pereira, Cooper all along pit lane. Landing on the inside of MG. Run a little bit wide. Costello on
Jones
the
now in
outside. Jones playing into the mix as well. Oh, the elbows are out after the first round of pit stops. And Cameron Jones wanted to put his nose up on the inside, but thought better of it. Tuck back in. Under the main straight they go. Oh, how good is it to have Rayner Costello back in the AEST SuperSeries? Finally, Dylan Rudd has a challenge on his hands at a circuit that he knows well. He wasn't too confident, comfortable last week in Japan at the Twin Ring Motegi East circuit. And Rian Leonage pushed him nearly every step of the way. Unfortunately, under-fueled in that last pit stop, and that's what really cost him in the end. Now, there are 2 legitimate fighters contending with Dylan Rudd here for the top spot. They are 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the motor races. We wait for Jamie Dyke to stop via pit lane first time round. He's got 18 laps out of this first stint, so he's got the half race distance. Peter Crossingham, the effective race leader at the moment, but he's only stopped for 12.4 seconds, so he's obviously intending to come in early this time round to then fuel long, take tyres, and then hopefully somewhere along the way that undercut, if you like, works for him in this battle with Rudd, Costello, and Jones. But if you're wondering why it cost him down in front, it's because he was on pit road for 10 seconds less than everybody else.
Yeah, it's the run out of the last turn for Cameron Jones. No, he's just dropped it back just a little.
Now, here we go, down the main straight. Rudd's got a great run. Costello, a poor run off the last corner. Here comes Cameron Jones. Now he's tucked back in. He's pulled out of it. There you
That's
go.
what I was looking at, see whether he would make that run stick, but it doesn't look like he has.
Whoa! Big moment for Leonard going through one. He's under all sorts of pressure here at the moment. Jones gives him a little rub going through 2. Through the southern loop. On the run down to Stoner Corner they go. Lap 19. Second half of the race underway here. The intensity has hit the roof. Rudd the leader. Rudd doing a nice job to conserve and consolidate at the moment. Jones giving Costello the big hurry up. Look at Michael Angus not too far behind them, and then Sean McNamara as well. And if these 3 get engaged in any sort of a battle, a 3-way fight could very quickly become a 5-way fight. But for Costello's sake and Jones's sake, they can't afford to start duking it out on their own. They need to go with Dylan Rudd and bring him into the fight as well.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they just can't let him get away. We know he's just too good a driver to give that bit of a space too. So even though these 2 are fighting, then what have we got?
So, Rudd playing defensive on the exit of MG as the field close up onto his tail, Kisby. This is on. He's got 2 car lengths. That's enough to hold on to turn 1, I think. But he's under all sorts of pressure that we wouldn't have anticipated. Costello, what a return to the server for him. He's been on an extended little holiday.
Oh, well done.
Lap
Got out of the road nicely.
Now, hang on. That lap traffic, who is that? That looked like Dylan Pereira to me, which means Dylan Pereira's in an enormous amount of trouble. Yes, he's showing a lap down. Jones has got to run on Costello. Here they go on the run through turn 3. Costello on the inside, Jones on the outside on the run to turn 4, and Rudd defending both of them at the moment. Jones around the outside to try and get the better of Costello. Have a look at that. And Jones is going to third.
He's got
magnificent piece of driving. Jones gets the better of Costello. Now, that is Dylan Pereira behind Costello, but Pereira is a lap down. Something has happened to Dylan Pereira, and that has huge implications for the man that's second in the championship, or third in the championship at the moment. That has huge implications in the battle for second with Rehan Leonage. Oh, boy, it's all unraveling on night 11 of the season. Jamie Duck into pit lane right now, and that will sort out the field. Crossingham will be the leader. Rudd second, Jones third on corrected order here. Now, I'm not sure. Dylan Pereira has stopped twice. The second one was for 45 seconds. Now, has Rudd copped a penalty from iRacing, or has he copped a penalty that we're not aware about from race control? Pereira, my apologies. The 21 of 36, and Dylan Pereira has stopped twice and is down a lap. And quite possibly, Kisby, and we've seen this before in GSRC land where we spend a lot of our time, it could be an iRacing penalty, in which case there is not a damn thing that our race control team can do about it.
Yeah, and if it's iRacing that gives the penalty, you serve it, no matter what the cause. So, yeah, is it the same? I'll just wait for it to hear in my ear. Is it the same here? If it's an iRacing penalty from our director? Yes.
Now, look at this.
So, look.
Just quickly, Dylan Rudd is under all sorts of pressure from Cameron Jones.
Cameron Jones.
This is huge. Right
and
here
Rayner's
and now.
just sitting there at the back there saying, go on, guys, you go for it. It plays into my hands.
Oh, well, nothing plays into Rayner's hands as far as the championship's concerned, but as far as the race is concerned, if these two get tangled. Oh, yeah. And the other guy that'll be watching on closely if these two tangle will be Rehan Leonage, because if something happens up front here and Rudd ends up catapulting down the order or worse, retiring, well, Rehan Leonage can make big inroads on Rudd's championship lead going into next week. There are no drop rounds this season. There's no get-out-of-jail-free cards. So Rudd would be at one end of the stick, happy to hold and happy to fight with Cameron Jones and try and prove a point and grab the win regardless. On the other hand, if he thinks championship and knowing that he could wrap it up in the first race next week and the pressure's off for the second, he might just consider letting Jones a big moment. He might just consider letting Jones go. But Jones, at the moment, you don't know whether he's going to. He's a bit of a loose cannon tonight. He's in fine form. He's going strong.
He's too early though.
But is he going to throw it away in a bid of trying in an attempt or in the process of trying to get to first? We wait and see. Rudd the leader. So it's Holden, Ford top three at the moment. Costello is sitting there. So Crossing, well, okay, this is on corrected order because we know that Crossingham's out of sequence with these guys. We know that Crossingham is only 4.4 seconds up the road. His stop was 10 seconds less than these guys. We know he's got to take on more fuel this time round. Oh, Rudd dives early. Ellen Rudd dives early. Costello goes with him. Jones goes on. Crossingham goes on. McNamara, Angus both in here as well. Yeah, this will be for the undercut, Chris Bisbee, and that was always a factor that we considered. They've got 14 laps to go, 15, 16 to the tag. They can get home from here. What's interesting is that Crossingham is the leader. We're talking about it as though he's not because we know he's out of sequence. We know he's not far enough up the road to hold this lead when the second round of pit stops balance out and he comes in for that top up of fuel. Remembering that he stopped for 10 seconds less than the guys at the pointy end of town that first time round. So we know that Peter Crossingham is not in the mix here as far as the podium's concerned. But he is still the race leader. We are on the critical lap, though, Kisby, and that's important. That's why those guys have pulled the trigger. Dean Reddit, Simon Chadwick, David Kirby, also Brady Norris and Rick Sibra opting to come to pit lane this time by as well.
It always confuses me these that getting it right. That's why I rely on crew chief and other things that I'm looking at to tell me when to pit. And then all I've got to decide is in that green area is where I can pit. So whether it's early on in the green or later on in the green, then that's how I decide. But and how the feel of the car's going.
Right, here we go. Crossingham's in now. That was expected. He was always expected to come in early. Now, what will Jones and Rehan Leonage do? Schultz, Alessi, and Cooper as well. Let's take an opportunity to grab our breath, catch a break, and come back with more after we crank up the volume here. Let's go for a lap with Cameron Jones, folks. Brilliant stuff from Cameron Jones. I mean, seriously, that was a 28.99 that time around. His fastest at 27.9. Dylan Rudd, just for comparison's sake, last time round a 31.5, but before that a 28.0. We wait and see. We're holding our breath. We've got our fingers, toes, knees, everything crossed, ladies and gentlemen, because we're just so tense with anticipation. This is captivating our imagination and holding our attention from first until last, as they usually do on a Tuesday night in the RSRA Super Series. The Racecraft Simulations Phillip Island 160, no different. Dylan Rudd, I want to say he's the effective race leader. Look who he's got for company. Rayner Costello, no surprise there. When is Cameron Jones pitting? That's what I want to know. Chris Kisby, your thoughts at this point? We're 12 laps from home, 11 and a quarter for Cameron Jones. Who wins from here? Whoa! Big dive around the outside through one. Ding Powell. Magnificent driving from Powell. Made the move, stick on Hayden Norris, moves up into 16th.
16th. Yeah, no, what a cracking race. It's the pace that they're setting is unbelievable. The way that they figured out these pit stops is just mind-blowing or mesmerising, because they lost me on the first one when they pitted so early, or a couple of them pitted so early, and the others ran their tanks out. But, yeah, look for these two to take it right to the end. Can Cameron Jones capitalise on staying out and get that little bit of extra... through there? But I'm just hearing through the earphones here that Rudd's taken a second out of Cameron Jones there, so away we go.
Indeed, he has 29.17, played 28.48. Dylan Rudd took 0.7 of a second out of Cameron Jones that last time round. That has huge implications as far as the pit sequence is concerned at the back end of this race. Rudd holds off Costello by 0.3 of a second at the moment. There they are, all over the back of Jamie Dyke, who still has to stop.
That won't be helping them either.
Oh, so Jamie Dyke yet to stop, Kisby, but these two here, Rudd and Costello, are the first of those that have stopped twice. They need to clear Dyke. Unless Dyke's going to hold them up, and that works into the hands of Cameron Jones. I'm not really sure at this point.
Well, if he's slowing them up coming around, that gives Cameron a little bit more time to get out in front because he's still got clean sailing in front of him. So away he goes. And these guys are trying to get around Jamie Dyke here so that they don't lose the seconds to Cameron in that pit stop when he goes in for the pit stop.
Just goes to show how difficult it is in this series for these guys to clear Jamie Dyke. I mean, Dyke's not one of the pinnacle front runners. He's in the top 10 there. Now here goes Rudd, making the move, making the lunge up on the high side. Costello gets the toe on the inside. Rudd clears him at turn 1. Costello can't go with him just yet. Now dives at 2.
Whoa.
No, gets held up. That's huge. That is huge right here and now. That's a big plus for Dylan Rudd that Costello is still stuck behind Dyke, but it says something about the level of competition in this series that it took him as long as it did for at least Dylan Rudd. Now Rayner Costello to clear Jamie Dyke, and look at Jamie Dyke making it hugely difficult for Rayner Costello to make his way through. It's not as though Jamie Dyke can get to the end. Oh, actually, no, hang on. I stand corrected. Maybe he can. Maybe he can. And I say that because he pitted on lap 20. Somehow Jamie Dyke got 20 laps out of his first stint, so he's back in this game. He can get to the finish here, so he is actually racing for position. I take it all back. Oh, he made it by going through the hay shed. Big send up the inside from Costello into Lukey Heights, but Dyke is still there, hanging top the inside, and then he eventually has to yield. Oh, what a moment. Rayner Costello, what a dive. And now we can go out in pursuit of Dylan Rudd again. Just when you think you've seen it all, Bisbee. And now Brian Cooper's in the pit lane as well. Just when you think you've seen it all, along comes Dylan Rudd with that big send up the inside at Lukey Heights. Normally not a spot known for overtaking, but try telling the youngster that.
Yeah, and it was Rayner Costello, not Dylan. Coming up down through there. So, yeah, unbelievable. Dylan had already passed him coming through there. But now, clean check, clean track, and away they go. Okay, so right up onto the back there. He's just waiting, puts the throttle down, comes in, goes a little bit later on the brakes, and he forces him to actually sit on the outside there and come down. So when you're coming down to this corner here, you've got to get into a groove. That inside corner has got a groove, and if you get your right-hand tyres into it, it'll actually help you and pull you around the corner. So young Rayner did it exceptionally well coming down through there.
I tell you what, he couldn't have used any more of that ripple strip if he tried.
No,
he was all over that. Oh my goodness me, that was fantastic stuff.
It is. You can actually really feel the car tilt and camber to the inside of the corner when you go around there. And when you hit it right at speed and you hit it, it sort of flings you around and then slides you across the track ready for your next left-hand corner. So you want to be in third before you get to the bridge. So they come down into first, hook in, and then halfway around the corner they go to second, and then by the bridge or the signage, they're into third, ready for the left-hander to come back around to the last turn and onto the main straight in fourth and fifth. So just a really clean exponent of that as he came around the corner.
Oh, I tell you what, this is one for the ages. I mean, Dylan Rudd's got 1 second on Rayner Costello. That might just be enough tonight. An inch is as good as a mile normally for Dylan Rudd. Cameron Jones, Rehan Leonage, Craig Schultz, top 3, still yet to stop. The longer they go here, the more I'm thinking that they've taken tyres first up, Kisby. They've gone the reverse of the norm. Because it seems a little bit strange that they've been able to go on this long and remain as competitive as this. So I think they might have gone early on tyre selection. We'll find out post-race, I'm sure. And what's going to be interesting for mine, Jamie Dyke got 20 laps out of that first stint. I'm still astonished by that. Michael Angus, it's showing, got... Hang on. Unless my timing screen here is playing tricks on me, it's showing that Michael Angus completed 1 pit stop on lap 22. But I could have sworn that he'd come in earlier than that. So I'm not entirely sure that SDK's not telling me porkies tonight. could be playing up. So disregard that.
Yeah, so there
We'll
was,
follow up the Jamie Dyke one, but I know Michael Angus has been in before lap 22. I know that much. They came in for the undercut. He and David Kirby at the same time. Just having a look at where David Kirby sits at the moment. Just struggling to find him on my leaderboard. I know he's out. Oh, there he is, down in 24.
down 24th.
Yeah, and again,
Right
it's
down.
showing that he's only completed one stop as well, and again on lap 22. So disregard that. Jamie Dyke could have stopped twice and might be out of sequence, but it doesn't matter. Lap 30 of 36, 7 to go. I can't believe what we've just seen from Rayner Costello. That was phenomenal stuff. In the meantime, it is Chris Barnes there in 8th position, fighting with Michael Angus and Kai Turner. Chris Barnes
Cameron
down the
Jones is in.
inside. Jones in now. Oh, no! There goes Chris Barnes! And Jones, I might add, and I just say as well,
Yeah,
Jones ended up off track coming into the pit lane. So we need to have a look at that as well.
Yeah,
The little
I
red
saw it.
light
You
lit
saw
up
it
on my
too.
timing screen. We need to have a look at Cameron Jones's entry into pit lane if we can, please, JP. That will be a wild ride, I'm sure. He's in pit lane now. Dylan Rudd will come down the main straight and take the
that
race
was quick.
lead away. That was a quick pit stop from Jones. He's going to come out easily third. Have a look at that. He's right there. He's
There we
right
go.
there with Rayner Costello. But is he on used rubber? And will he be able to fight all the way to the end?
10.8, so
Leonage-
he wouldn't have changed tyres on that.
No, Rehan Leonage and Craig Schultz yet to stop.
He is really going to have to fight to get this thing home on old tyres.
Let's have a look at this on the run into pit
Here we
lane.
go.
Cameron Jones. Whoa!
Here we go. Uh-oh,
Yep.
I've made a mistake. Oh,
Two-
no. Back
Two
in.
clips on the grass on the way through there.
Yeah.
Wow, what about that? Good stuff.
So, 10 point, what did I say it was? 10.8. So,
Yeah.
a splash and dash. So, he's,
Well, to be
Probably
fair, that's what we were
definitely
anticipating.
yeah, he took tyres early, so you picked it right, where the others took their tyres later. So, the other guy's going to be on a fresher set than Cameron, so let's see what he can do.
Rehan Leonage is on again. This is lap 32 now for Rehan. 15 of the stint. Craig Schultz second. Dylan Rudd third. Rayner Costello fourth. Cameron Jones fifth. This is extraordinary what we're seeing here at the Gateway to Hypothermia tonight. The morning time race, despite the fact that, well, you know what I'm going to say here. It doesn't think sim time doesn't sync up with last week. Sim time synced up with race time as far as broadcast was concerned beautifully. Japan 1 hour behind, 19:30 start, 20:30, beautiful. This morning 9:10 doesn't sync up as nicely when it's on the same continent as which we're broadcasting from, but that's all right. We are almost heading towards the 1 hour mark of this race, ladies and gentlemen. Last time by the line we got to 49 and 5. And there's a real possibility on that note that we'll see this race run in. Well, the race itself is listed for 1 hour 15 minutes. We have been running for 49, so we'll be fine on time certainty. But we might get it run inside an hour, and that'll be the third round in 4 weeks to run inside 60 minutes. Which I mean, just goes to show the speed of the racetracks that we've been on of late. I mean, Red Bull Ring, Imola, Mategi the exception because we ran for 64 minutes there. Here comes Rehan Leonage in the pit lane now. And that, yeah, this could be, as I said, the third week in a row in which we get the 160 Ks done inside 60 minutes. So how fast are these guys going? And that's even with a safety car, can I point out. So 5 laps to go. Rehan Leonage, Craig Schultz in pit lane. Dylan Rudd's going to take the lead of the race. No surprise there. And he's checking out. 2 seconds almost the margin on Rayner Costello. So this is Rudd's to lose from here.
Cameron Jones behind him. Sean McNamara, Jamie Dyke, top 5.
Now we're just getting word through.
10 seconds? 10 seconds for tyres?
Well, tyres and fuel, because remember, tyres and fuel are done simultaneously in the supercar. So, I mean, that if Cameron's on fresh tyres, that is huge as far as this race.
I don't think I've ever had a 10-second tyre change.
I wouldn't have thought that these guys I wouldn't have thought that these guys, Kisby, would have been able to get, well, 30 laps out of these tyres and still be that competitive. So Jones
Yeah.
is closing in on Rehan Leonage. He's only 1.7 seconds away. Could Jones still second at the death here tonight? And neither one's in championship contention, but who knows? Michael Angus under tremendous pressure from Craig Schultz here as well. The battle for seventh. So Rayner Costello in second, Cameron Jones is third. My apologies, I misspoke there, but yeah, neither Rayner nor Cameron, my apologies, are in championship contention. I mean, after tonight, I don't think you can say that Rehan or Dylan, well, definitely not Dylan Pereira, but Rehan Leonage might just be slipping. It might just be slipping away from him tonight as well. So lap 34 or 36 here. Craig Schultz sitting there in eighth. Dylan Rudd, the leader. He's got 2.1 on Rayner Costello. Jones. The Jones is who we're watching because he's only 1.7 seconds away from Rayner. Can he close in and maybe, cause the sting in the tail? 3 laps to go at the island.
Back in the pack, we're looking at Craig Schultz.
So all the top 3, Chris Kisby, that last time around, were within 0.3 of one another.
Yeah.
A 29.13 for Rudd, a 29.20 for Jones, a 29.37 for Costello. So, I mean, yeah, pressure's on.
Is that 29.04 for Sean McNamara as well?
Yeah, McNamara is going to come home fourth tonight and do so quite nicely. And just having a look further back in the pack here, Brian Cooper getting by Mitch Campbell.
I did a race with Sean in there during the weekend, a bit of a practice at Phillip Island. They just left me for dead. I was lapped before the end of the race. So.
Now, just going and having a look here, Jacob Brewer is still circulating, but 6 laps down. Brenton Nitschke still circulating, but 8 laps down. Matthew Scholes out of the race early. And David Kirby still circulating 1 lap down. Now, can I just stress with all of that, Dylan Pereira is also a lap down.
Yep.
So you've got 22 on the lead lap. And just looking at where Brewer is and where where Brenton Nitschke is, Nitschke, by the skin of his teeth, will get to 75%. Jacob Brewer will get to 75%. So they will get classified. They will get points. Remembering that 25% is 9 laps. So they've got to get to 27. That's the magic number. They've got to complete 27 laps out of the 36. And they are both on track to do that. So, I mean, disappointing night at the office for both of them, but they will still walk away with a handful, a sprinkling of championship points. A lap and a half to go.
So theoretically, Dylan Rudd here, he's led this race from start to finish. A couple of changes there because of out of pit order, but corrected order. Dylan's just had control of this race from the start. And Rayner stuck in. There's the white flag, is it? Yep, the white flag. Barney, the white flag.
So, just having a look here, we got a confirmation from Race Control a short while ago, and apologies for not seeing it in my Discord messages until now. Jamie Dyke pitted lap 3 for a splash and then lap 20, so it was a long game. He pitted behind the safety car, but obviously SDK hasn't picked it up. Kirby had an issue in pit lane. That's where he lost a minute. So confirming that Jamie Dyke did in fact stop twice, but he was on the run home when making life difficult for Rayner Costello and Dylan Rudd. So, I mean, quite rightly, he was racing for position. So we can't take anything away from that. He didn't have to stop again. This guy, however, geez, he is in some sort of form. This will be one hand on the championship tonight, and it'll be reasserting himself at the top end of town after losing last week's round on points despite winning the race to Rehan Leonage. Rayner Costello has pushed him every step of the way, but he's going to fall just short. Cameron Jones is going to ensure that there are 2 Fords on the podium tonight, so that's a great performance as well. But this guy goes into next week to Mount Panorama to round 12 of the RSRA Super Series with one hand firmly on the title and the ability to wrap it up one race from the end.
Here we go.
Last turn, checkered flag. Dylan Rudd has done it again. Racecraft Simulations
Well done, Dylan.
160 goes to the 990. And that's another one. Oh, the statistics are something supreme for Dylan Rudd this season. Dynamite performance. I mean, if you have a look at the stats and where he started the night, it's yet again a case of first and first. In fact, the top 3 finish exactly where they start. Costello and Jones bring it home. 56 minutes and 48 seconds. Even with the safety car, this race runs in less than 60 minutes. That is quite extraordinary. Sean McNamara was 4th. Then Jamie Dyer, Rehan Leonage, Michael Angus, Kai Turner, Craig Schultz. Alex Court raced hard and got himself into the top 10. Very nicely done. And pushed Craig Schultz every step of the way, as well as Kai Turner, as Michael Angus. Those 4 there were bunched up within about 1.6 seconds of one another. Further back, Dean Alessi, Dean Reddit, Brian Cooper, Mitch Campbell, and Dean Powell made up the top 15. We'll have a look at the full results in just a moment. Rayner Costello, great return to the server. Rehan Leonage cements second in the championship for the moment because of Dylan Pereira's dramas this evening, remembering that he's ended up down in 23rd position. So a huge leg up for not only Rehan Leonage, but also potentially the guys that were sitting 4th and 5th in the title race coming into tonight as well. We'll have a look at how all that balances out once the numbers are crunched. But Kisby, take nothing away from Dylan Rudd. He is the standard for a reason, and it looks like Holdens are going to take 2 from 2 as far as the championships are concerned, on the back of Lassif Leonage's success last season, albeit by 1 solitary point. Dylan Rudd looks like he's going to do it a heck of a lot easier this time round. I'll get your comments on all of that in just a moment. First, though, crank up the volume, folks, and celebrate with the winner, Dylan Rudd, one more time. That's as close to a 10 out of 10 as you're going to get, I reckon.
Yeah, someone's been practicing their donuts.
Brilliant stuff. Rightio, we'll have a look at the race results for you in just a moment. Rayner Costello standing by. We'll have a chat to the youngster in just a moment here. But and then Kisby, I'll get your thoughts on Dylan Rudd too. But in the meantime, I can tell you that it was Dylan Rudd in 56 minutes 48 seconds tonight. So it was a nice fast one. 160 Ks in what was bugger all time in the end, really. And the intensity of that one, Kisby, as we wait for the results, he really lived up to the hype. And Dylan Rudd, he's in some sort of very neat form at the moment, and it's hard to see. It's hard to see him losing this title now. He's only got to rock up next week, essentially, as we have a look at the results. Hold that thought. I'm coming back to you, Kisby. Dylan Rudd in the end by 1.85 to Rayner Costello. Cameron Jones was 3rd. 4 Fords, 6 Holdens in the top 10 tonight. Sean McNamara 4th. Jamie Dyer, Rehan Leonage, Michael Angus, Kai Turner, Craig Schultz, and Alex Court the top 10.
Well, look at that.
Over the page, and
Over the
Kisby, all
page.
yours.
Dean Alessi, Dean Reddit, Brian Cooper, Mitch Campbell, Dean Power, Simon Chadwick, Rod Hollis, Robert Christel, Hayden Norris, and Peter Crossingham, 11 to 20. So really well done there, guys.
Yeah, you mentioned. I mentioned that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th in the championship.
Yeah.
With, Dylan's misfortune. Peter's also had a shocker at the office as well. And it was again a 6 and 4 split as far as Holden and Ford were concerned, 11 to 20, and then a plethora of Holdens and just one Ford between 21st and 28th. Rick Sibrid, Chris Barnes, they were the last time on the lead lap. Dylan Pereira, a lap down. David Kirby, Jacob Brewer, Brenton Nitschke, Matthew Scholes. There's another one that was in the top end of town, the top 10 as far as the championship is concerned. So Crossingham, Pereira, and also Scholes having an absolute shocker tonight, which cements Rehan as second in the championship. He's really looking good now going into next week of cementing second. But take nothing away from Dylan Rudd, Chris Kisby. Your thoughts on all that before we hear from the top three, and we'll have to get to Rehan quickly as per usual.
Yeah, what an absolute cracking race. As I said, I'll be practicing this through the week, and I know how difficult it is to get around there. But yeah, it early on in the race didn't go all his way. He had Rayner right on his back bumper there, and then Cameron Jones, well, almost a masterstroke in strategy there, and just couldn't get it done in the end there. But absolutely fantastic racing from all the guys on the podium.
All right, Cameron Jones and Dylan Rudd stand by for me. Let's go to Rayner Costello at this point in time because we know
Welcome
he's
back, mate.
And
Hey, guys.
yeah, we'll echo that sentiment, mate. Nice to have you back. Really well done. A superb drive, a new livery, a new team, but still the same consistent old Rayner Costello. We've missed having you at the pointy end pushing Dylan Rudd, and I'm sure he's enjoyed having you back as well from the standpoint of actually having a real challenge, and he had a fight on his hands from both of you there at points tonight. But from your standpoint, what do you make of that 36 laps, mate?
Yeah, it's great to be back. I've been missing my Tuesday night racing, but yeah, that was an awesome race. Not a chance to rest. Had Cameron Jones right up behind the whole way, and Dylan in front. I was pushing so hard to keep with him. Couldn't quite get it. I was pretty pleased to sort of be on Dylan's pace first race back. So yeah, it was a pretty good race. Everything sort of went to plan, and yeah.
I mean, mate, you've been obviously sitting at home with gritted teeth on a Tuesday night, watching on in envy at these guys, and you must marvel in the form that Dylan Rudd's in at the moment.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can bring an end to his winning streak. Hopefully this was the last race that he'll win, but yeah, we'll try and put an end to that next time.
Indeed, you will. And I love the confidence in which you're already talking here, mate. What are your thoughts? I mean, what were your thoughts on the race? Because it got really intense there for a few laps after that first round of pit stops.
Yeah, it did. I think Cameron took tyres there, so he was all over me. I didn't take tyres. He got a run on me, so I let him go to try and attack Dylan. Then came around for pit stop time. I think Dylan and I were both thinking the same thing, trying to pit right at the first opportunity once we could fit enough fuel in the car and chuck tyres at it. So we both came in there. I think I gained a little on the pit stop, and then caught up to Jamie Dyke. Dylan cleared him, and then I had to sort of spend an extra lap clearing him, and then that meant that I was about 0.9 behind Dylan, and had to use my tyres up a little passing Jamie, but yeah, couldn't quite keep with him in those last few laps, so he did a good job.
Yeah, Jamie really gave it to you there, didn't he? He took it up to you.
Yeah, it was good racing though.
Absolutely was. Kisby, I know you'll have a couple of questions for your runaway mate in just a moment, but firstly, get your thoughts on this. When you look at Matthew Scholes going out on the first lap, when you look at Peter Crossingham going through pit lane and copping a penalty and a stop and hold, you look at Dylan Pereira copping a stop and hold as well. The implications of that as far as their championship is concerned, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen next in this series. And we spoke at the start about how it was critically important for the guys battling for second and beyond because we knew that Dylan Rudd was in complete control at the top end of town. We spoke of how important it was for these guys to do their thing and to perform as best they could in the sense of finishing as high up the order as possible, trying to impress sponsors and trying to, cement their status for next season. That's a big blow to them tonight.
Yeah, it is. But then there's always two sides to the coin, Zach, so it's a big blow to them. But for the likes of young Rehan, who has kept us entertained while Rayner's been away, so the young people, he's taken the reign of the young people as well there, Rayner. So you've been in good company there. He's coming along. You're going to have to watch out for him as he goes through. It evens out. So some people lose, some people win. So it just depends on what side of the coin you're looking at the particular time.
Indeed. 8. I've just been informed by Race Control. 8 cars picked up the bonus tonight for a clean race. We'll find out which
Oh,
8 in just
nice.
a moment, I am sure. But in the meantime, any questions from you for your mate Rayner Costello here, Chris Kisby?
Well, not really. It was his driving spoke for itself, as well as Dylan's and Cameron's, and the decision making in that aspect is just great. As I said, I did a race and I had McNamara and a couple of the others in there, which I didn't expect to race against them, with me being a 700 and them being whatever. But you learn so much, and once again tonight, learning through there. But glad to see you back, Rayner. I've been following your exploits on your go karting as well, and man, you're a tall boy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was there was some pretty tight moments there where I think it was out of Lukey Heights. I went for a bit of a half move on Dylan and got super close to him. So I'm lucky that didn't end badly for my sake. But yeah, it was great racing, lots of fun. And yeah, onto your point about Rayhan getting faster and faster. By the time he's my age, he's probably going to be way faster than I am now. So he's got a good head
Exactly.
start.
We've been just shaking our head because he broke records last week, something chronic. So yeah, just watch out for him.
Yeah, great job by him last week as well.
Yeah.
He had an absolute field day, or, in kid language, an absolute picnic last week. I mean, it was just sensational to watch. Now, Rayner, because obviously you're always on a curfew when we're in either not school holidays or not lockdown times, and thankfully you're lucky enough to be able to go out and do the real world thing as well. So we know we're going to lose you very shortly, but before we do, mate, we'll let you thank some sponsors in just a moment, but I've got a couple of other things for you here. Firstly, how critical was that safety car restart, and how critical was it to stay with Dylan Rudd? He skipped a couple of car lengths on you, but you kept him pretty honest.
Yeah, it was definitely a critical moment in the race. I had to make sure that I got a good start, stayed in the slipstream to set me up later for the race. So the safety car restart worked out pretty well. I tried to put him under pressure, get him to crack, maybe make a mistake, but he didn't do that. He held on quite nicely. So yeah, it was definitely a critical part of the race, making sure I got a good safety car restart.
Indeed it was. Well done, mate. Very nicely done. Now, secondly, what about the new team? You must, I mean, it's been an interesting vacation for you out of the iRacing server. You're back, and you're back in a new squad too. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was, I think it was sort of, having the time off gave me a bit of time to think, and moving to JP Simshed and some new things to come next season was definitely the right move at this time. So looking forward to starting a new chapter.
Oh, great new livery too.
Yeah, it's a great looking car.
It was second stop for the tyres.
Yep, second stop.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out whether Cameron, and we'll find out off Cameron shortly whether he took tyres or not. And I don't think I've ever had a race where I've taken tyres in 10 seconds or 8, yeah, whatever it is, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was. Yeah. He must have some really, really good pit crew to get them there. So yeah, it's. I thought he might have been on older ones because it's such a short stop, whereas you guys filled up a lot longer. But yeah, no, it was almost a masterstroke from Cameron there. But back to you, Zach.
All right, I'm just going to break in before I get Rayner Costello's final thoughts on the one other thing I want to ask him tonight. Well, actually, two other things. But before that, I just want to break in and let everyone know that one of our ace Paralympians, Dylan Alcott, is through to the gold medal match in the men's quad wheelchair singles as well. He had to work hard for it in 3 sets in just over 2 hours, but Dylan Alcott is through to the quad wheelchair singles final in Tokyo. Rayner, thoughts on next week? I mean, you're out of the championship, so the pressure's off in that sense, but you got a point to prove on Mount Panorama, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of been my place to do well in the past, so hopefully we can do well there again. But I'm sure Dylan's going to be fast. He's fast at every track, so we'll have to put in the preparation and we'll see how we go.
And of course, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Can you believe it's been we've been on air for just over an hour and a half, and I haven't had a chance yet to let you know that next week, early start, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. In fact, we might even go a little bit earlier than that because obviously we'll have to talk through championship equations and that sort of stuff. But next week it is a double sprint as part of the Triple Crown, and it is a 16 lap first up followed by a 26 lap reverse grid race around Mount Panorama. If we don't see a safety car next week, I'm very surprised. Tuesday, September 7, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We did do coverage of qualifying for the last round of the last series, but that was because it was one 250-kilometre race and we had a top 10 shootout. No shootout this time. It'll be just standard qualifying. We'll have the tail portion of that as part of our coverage here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting next Tuesday night, 7:50 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Rayner Costello, your thoughts on not Mount Panorama and not the reverse grid race? Because, I mean, we can talk about that next week. But the big news out of iRacing circles in the last week is that Winton and Sandown are on their way to the server. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's awesome for Australian racing tracks. It'll be great to have them on, and also rain on the way as well. So it'll be good to have rain and some different Australian tracks on there. So definitely some exciting news.
Just as long as it's not as heavy as what it was in Belgium the other night, and no one, says, "Oh no, we shouldn't go racing," when it rains. Rayner, the floor is yours. Thank whoever you want, mate, and then we'll let you go.
I'd like to thank Goodyear Auto Care Warana, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, DSL Welding Services, Subtools, VR Covers, Racing with Autism, and Cars for Hope, and JP Simshed for their support in this new chapter.
Excellent stuff, mate. And can I just leave you on some good news? The 8 clean race bonuses tonight. Sean McNamara, Michael Angus, Craig Schultz, Dean Alessi, Dean Reddit, Brian Cooper, Rehan Leonage, and Rayner Costello. Well done, mate. It's very
Ooh, well done.
Now, what that means, as far as the race and the round is concerned, Rudd wins because he got pole, so he gets the 5 bonus points there. So he wins by 2 points, not 7, because he didn't get a clean race bonus, and Rayner Costello got a clean race bonus. Had Rudd been able to get a clean race bonus, he would have won the round by 7 points, but it's just a 2-point round win. But an inch is as good as a mile in this series, as he knows. And Cameron Jones will therefore be third, but it will be a few points back on the back of him not being one of the ones to secure a clean race. And I think I might have an inkling where he lost it on 2 occasions, the potential for a clean race, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. In the meantime, Rayner, thank you, mate. Well done. Good to have you back, and we'll touch base next week.
Thanks for the commentary, guys. It's great to be back.
Chris Kisby, he is a force to be reckoned with, isn't he?
Oh, it's just having that long off and then coming straight back into the seat again is just unreal. Pulling off a second.
Indeed it is. Now, on the back of that, let's get to Cameron Jones and Dylan Rudd here and have a chat to, well, the race winner firstly. Dylan Rudd, you've done it again, mate, but this time, unlike last week, it is the round win as well. And it's pole position and all the other great bits and pieces that go associated with that. You have to work hard for that one as well. Maybe not as hard as Twin Ring, but certainly as hard as you've had to fight for any race win in the last few weeks.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Car wasn't as good as I would have liked it in the first stint. I think I drove a lot better in the second stint, but yeah, definitely was a good battle with Rayner and Cam at the end of the first stint. So yeah, kept the pressure on, and it was good fun.
Certainly did. It was good fun indeed. You performed superbly well. And what about that second stint after the first round of pit stops? The elbows were out well and truly.
Yeah, definitely just trying to keep track position. Aero understeer is fairly bad around this track, so yeah, just trying to keep track position.
Heart in the mouth when you came into pits and hit the grass?
Yes and no, it was under control.
Our hearts were in our mouths when we saw you hit one bit of grass and then on the left side, and then the other bit of grass on the right-hand side.
Oh, brilliant. Hey, Dylan, just on all of that, was it tyres in the second stop as per norm?
Yes.
Yeah. And then obviously uh, I don't want to say that it was a race changing moment, but being able to clear Jamie Dyke just that little bit quicker and more conveniently than Rayner, that proved to be a big, big turning point in terms of the momentum of that race. It gave you a little bit of a buffer, and you walked away with it from there. In terms of you were able to use that buffer to your advantage and build a gap that kept Rayner at bay for the remainder of the race there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if I didn't get past Jamie at turn one, I could have been a bit vulnerable for Rayner into the hairpin. So just try to make the pass as quick as possible, just to keep a bit of a gap between Rayner and myself.
Indeed, mate.
It worked.
Stay there. Kisby, you got any questions for Dylan?
Not at this stage. No, I'm sort of floating on thin air at the moment. I don't know
Oh,
what's going on, but and no, I haven't been smoking anything either. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic to watch you go around there, Dylan. Um, it, being caught behind Jamie sort of gave Cameron a bit of an edge too, because he was flying off in front of you, so you had to get around him as quick as you possibly could.
Yeah,
um, go, Dylan. You're right, mate. Go.
I was gonna say, Cameron, I think was on a bit of a alternate strategy with tires and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he was going for a bit of an undercut, taking tires in the. I think he took tires in the first stop, but yeah,
Funny you should say that. Let's bring him in. Cameron Jones, good
Let's
evening to
go.
you.
Let's find out.
Well done on third. We've got a couple of big moments to talk about with you here. Obviously, heart in the mouth at turn one, and then you also kicked up a bit of dirt and dust and grass on the way into pit lane on your second pit stop there as well. You left it all on the track tonight, mate. You left nothing on the table. It was an elbows out effort from first until last, and you've walked away with the podium. Just talk us through the moment at Doohan Corner, firstly, turn one, because that could have been race ending.
Yeah, well, that's what changed our strategy because I just couldn't get back onto him after that, and we're probably lucky to even finish after that little episode.
Exactly right.
We
I
did
mean,
talk about it quite a bit.
we did talk about it. We were a little bit worried about what race control might think of the rejoin, but it looked as though they cleared it, which is good news for you and probably the right call in the end, as Kisby alluded to, for all the reasons that he mentioned. Because at the end of the day, it's not as though you made contact with any cars, and it didn't look to disadvantage, I think it was Sean McNamara, to any great degree. But obviously, you've answered the second question there. That changed your strategy. So you opted to take the fresh tyres first. Big gamble, nearly paid off.
Yeah, it was really important that I got in front of Rayner and Dylan straight away, but I spent too much time behind them, and yeah, kind of played the part in the strategy wrong.
Um, on that note, you pushed hard every step of the way there. You came home where you qualified. I mean, unfortunately, like Rayner, you're not in championship contention, so every result is a bonus now as you build towards hopefully an all-out assault in season 3. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it's a bit better next season. Hasn't been good this one at all.
Yeah. More on that very shortly. Let's throw the conversation around here because as you might have already guessed, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a little bit of time to kill. In fact, we might even get ourselves an early mark tonight. Because that race absolutely flew by. 56 minutes and 48 seconds. So it's about 10 minutes. Yeah, it was about 10 minutes shorter than last week's race. So that means either we give ourselves a 10-minute early mark, or I find 10 minutes worth of extra content to talk about. I can normally do the latter. I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm not going to be cruel to everybody because we're all going to do a little bit of overtime next week. But Cameron, I mean, that was a relatively clean race, apart from those two moments, the skirmish at one, the skirmish coming into pit lane on the second stop, and it was really interesting to see how strategy played out tonight because there was such great room for movement, room for flexibility, given the fuel burn, given the numbers.
Yeah, well, about the pit entry, I had a really good run in the first stop, and I gained like a second on Dylan and Rayner. So I tried my fancy entry again, and it didn't quite work out.
And I mean, on both instances tonight, turn one and pit lane, you're lucky that you've got good car control because anyone else that may not necessarily have had the reflexes, the reaction skills that you did, it could have been a lot different.
Yeah, I think I need to get rid of my data screen so I stop looking at lap times of other people.
Well, actually, yeah, it's funny because I was talking to someone about that in the Excel paddock over the course of the weekend, in the real world. And I'll get Dylan Rudd's thoughts on this as well before I come to you, Cameron. How much of a distraction can that be, or how much of a guide can that be, or how much of an assistance can that be, if you've got that data available to you, and then if you take it away, how much more pressure do you feel because that vital piece of information that puts your mind at ease, I should say, is no longer there and available to you.
I think if you've got someone in your ear, you don't really need it. But if you're doing everything on your own, you kind of need it. But it can also play against you. Like I could see Dylan was doing about like half a second a lap quicker than me towards the end, so I knew he was going to come out in front of me.
Dylan Rudd, I can see that there's a karting picture next to your profile name here in Discord. So you've got a little bit of experience in both real and sim world. Do you use the timing data to your advantage, or is it a bit of a distraction like it was for Cameron tonight?
No, I don't use any data. I find the relative enough of a distraction for me, funnily enough. But yeah, don't have any lap times or I end up looking at them too much down the straights.
I'm
Makes
hearing you.
sense.
I, I must admit, I'm only a newbie as far as driving on the road is concerned. So, 60, 70, 80 Ks an hour. And I need to be able to focus on the road and nothing else. And anything that might happen in the car or any distractions I see on the road, my mind instantly wanders. So I'm the worst person to talk to about distractions. Don't worry about that. Um, we'll have a look at the championship points in just a moment because that'll give us an indication of where things stand with regards to next week. I'm just waiting for the memo that they are good to go. But before that, Cameron Jones, been a frustrating sort of season, but there's potential there in some of the results that you've racked up here.
Yeah, it's just I need like last week I didn't get to practice at the new track or anything, and my results really showed. But this week I did a fair bit of practice for sculpts and whatnot, so my speed was pretty good.
And compared to last week, I'd say that Phillip Island, without knowing for sure, is a track more familiar to you than Twin Ring Motegi East.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you can come back to a track and you know which way the turn one is, you know your braking markers and whatnot.
Yeah. And on the same token, Dylan Rudd, I noticed that despite the car setup, which you already noted that you weren't 100% thrilled with, you looked more at ease with the circuit than what you did Twin Ring Motegi East last week because that was something that you noted in last week's post race show as a reason why the pack was a lot closer to you than they otherwise might have been.
Yeah, definitely. Find it without the track being in line with the official calendar. Sometimes I find it a bit hard to do practice. For instance, Twin Ring, did, didn't do many laps there to be honest. Where Phillip Island, it's a track I like driving, so I did a fair few laps practice, even though I didn't the only race I did here and league wise. But yeah, definitely a much more enjoyable track for me.
Well, this is very true. And of course, the Holy Grail is yet to come. Let's have a look at the championship points as they stand after this round. It's going to paint a very good picture if you're running car number 990. Have a look at that. My goodness gracious me, 142 points. Now, all the ramifications for next week. Let's paint the picture very clearly here now before I run through the rest of the top 10. 142 points. There's a maximum of 315, I think I'm right in saying, up for grabs next week because there's 5 points for pole in qualifying, not race 2, because obviously that's a reverse grid. So, I mean, who wants 5 points by default of just, inheriting the grid spot? So 5 points there, 5 for the 2 clean bonuses. So, I mean, how many really are going to be able to get a 5-point bonus in that second race particularly? Given the nature of it being reverse grid, given it being Mount Panorama and a few other factors there. So, okay, so let's work on the notion of maximum points 315. So, if Rudd is 155 clear, And this again comes back to placing a very great emphasis on qualifying next week, because that's worth 5 points. So that would take the advantage up to 147. So then he'd only have to get 8 in that first race. 310 up for grabs with the 2 clean races being 5-point bonuses, 150 for the 2 wins. There's your 310 and 5 for pole position. So if he's 155 clear after the first race, the pressure is well and truly off going into the second. So bear all of that in mind. Dylan Rudd has one hand on the title. 142 points clear of Rehan Leonage. Big moves here. Big implications here with what's unfolded tonight. Have a look at that. That order has shaken up immensely. Jamie Dyke is now third by 11 points over Dylan Pereira, who had a shocker tonight, from Peter Crossingham, who had a shocker tonight, 1379. And Dean Reddit, 1,340. Sorry, Alex Court, 1,349. Dean Reddit, 1,334. Simon Chadwick, 1,325. Then 10 points back to Dean Alessi and 10 points back to Craig Schultz. That's the top 10. Just looking over the page, Matthew Scholes, huge, huge setback for him. Out of the top 10, 11th on 1271, 3 clear of Brian Cooper, and then a big gap back to Aaron Dodd, who has 7 points over Sean McNamara. Mitch Campbell makes up the top 15, and then it's the best of the rest down there through the order. So, Dylan, just bringing you back into the conversation here and now. What are your thoughts now that you read that? Now that you know the equations for next week, I mean, sure, you could place an emphasis on qualifying to help you with the extra 5 points there, but is it a case of you just need to finish next week, or do you want to go there and seal it in race one and send the message to the pack that you are here, you mean business, and you want that number one for next season?
Yeah, I think the goal will be put it on the front row and try and win the first race, and then for the reverse grid, just see what happens.
How difficult is that going to be? That second race, knowing that, I mean, we had 28 on the grid tonight, 27 on the grid tonight. So let's work on those numbers again. That's still going to be an arduous task trying to clear your way through the pack on a track where overtaking isn't great. Overtaking opportunities aren't great. There are a few at the bottom end of the circuit, but it's essentially one-way traffic once you get out of the cutting, and on the way up over and down the mountain down to Forest Elbow is probably your next legitimate one. Um, how patient are you going to have to be next week? How mindful are you going to have to be about the cars in front of you come that reverse grid race?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to be pretty cautious up over the mountain on the first couple of laps, just because it can have a concertina effect, especially in the tighter corners up to the cutting and stuff. There can be like bumper to bumper contact and
Yeah.
big crashes. So just need to be keep that in mind and yeah, play it smart on the first few laps and just get through it.
Indeed. No, very well done, mates. We'll come back and have a chat with you in just a moment. I've had it in my earpiece that there are going to be slightly longer races again next season as we build towards the climax of the year in December, which will be the Bathurst 1000, and that will be the final round of the third season. Whether it's 11 or 12 rounds, that'll become clearer in the next week as well. We'll have that calendar hopefully ready for you by next Tuesday night, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at the back end of September as the starting point and taking you through until mid-December on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. It is going to be huge. But Cameron Jones, as someone that's out of championship contention, uh, can you just go into Mount Panorama next week relaxed and lick the stamp and send it and see how it goes, or are you going to go there with race face on and want to also send a message with the mind to season 3, or a view to season 3, and knowing that all hell breaks loose at the end of September, all bets are off, and we'll get stuck into business once more, and everyone's going to have that opportunity. Everyone's a contender again.
Um, I'd like to finish the season off good and start the next season off even better. But I seem to have pretty good luck at Bathurst. I started last time and come to second.
Yeah.
I think there's more
Although
luck than driving, but
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, like, yeah, sure, luck has a little bit to do with it, but again, it's not notoriously known for overtaking opportunities. It's not notoriously known for being easy. So you've got to have a little bit of skill and a bit of wit about you to have some luck around Mount Panorama. And in saying that, though, totally different mindset. Yes, we're going to have 42 laps of racing, but we're also going to have 2 race starts. So I mean, the overtaking practice you got first time round is going to serve you well, no doubt about that. But that first race is only 16 laps, and then that second race is 26 laps. So it's a totally different ball game compared to 12, 13, whatever it was weeks ago when we were last there.
Yeah, like Dylan said, it's gonna be really important not to push on the first couple of laps because the track can just block and you can't go anywhere. End up getting shunted from behind and just ruin your race. So as hard as it is, patience isn't my strong point. I'm gonna have to try and be patient.
I'll keep you posted as well, folks. I'm just watching the Paralympics women's 1500 T54-53 final. Maddie Di Rosario of Australia has taken off in that. Wet weather athletics. It's absolutely tipping down in Tokyo at the moment. So we're watching for the Aussie and see how she goes. She's sitting fifth at the moment on the first lap, 3 laps to go from there when they get across the line. So she's well placed in the early stages. Chris Kisby's out of the room at the moment, but uh, in fact, he's dropped out. So I'd assume that's an internet issue at his end. He did mention that was a problem tonight with the rain tipping down in Tasmania as well. He said he might get drowned out eventually. So I think that's what's happened. We thank Chris Kisby for his insights throughout the course of the evening, as per usual. Um, Dylan Rudd, one eye to season 4, or season 3 for us, and season 4 for iRacing. What are your thoughts on the 2 new circuits that are on their way? They may not necessarily make it in time for season 4 this year, but a couple more Aussie tracks to play with next year. That's got to be nothing but good news, I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely exciting, and definitely looking forward to driving them when they come out. Should be good fun and good addition to the Aussie tracks.
My only query with iRacing is are they going to slug us the full 14.95 as they would for a Grand Prix circuit like the Hungaro Ring or Hockenheim, or even the Chicago Street Circuit, because I'm not sure if 14.95 and Winton go hand. It might be 11.90. I don't know. Cameron Jones, your thoughts on Sandown and Winton? One real driver track, and then of course a track where horsepower is king in Sandown.
Yeah, it's good to have them on the service. I don't know. s- Can't stop to think like what they think when they come and scan Red Bull Ring, and then next week they do Winton. Like it's a fair different level of track and what they think of our Australian tracks, but not as good as what they've got.
You're right to continue that on as well, Cameron, whatever you were saying there, mate.
Ah, all right, I've forgotten what I was saying. I'm trying to do two things at once.
I think we all are at the moment. I'm getting messages in my ear as well. Now, having a look here at a message I've been sent, and JP in my ear. Am I allowed to run with this on air? Okay. I'm just getting a message through here, and if I'm honest with you, I don't know who it's about, but it says it's from Dylan Pereira. Right, gotcha. So this is an explanation as to why Dylan Pereira, and this again has championship implications with regards to the battle for second and third. Dylan Pereira and Rehan Leonage. Rehan's comfortable second right now. But this is the description from Dylan Pereira as to what happened earlier this evening. Craig Schultz exited his pit bay, almost hit me. We were side by side, and I must have very narrowly hit the limiter too early. On examination, maybe 1 kilometre an hour. 40-second stop and hold, and to make matters worse, he got slightly distracted and shocked by the penalty that he went off at turn 2 on exit. Oh, geez. A train wreck as far as he was concerned. Cameron Jones has had to leave us as well, and thanks to Cameron. Oh, well, actually, no. Bad luck, because I was going to say, Cameron, thank your sponsors, but we'll make sure we do that next week for you. In the meantime, Dylan Rudd, if you want to thank your sponsors, mate, now's the time to do it, and we'll see if there's any more questions for you on the other side of that.
Yeah, so thank all the guys at 95 SimSport, our sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, iClean Solar, Ipswich and Brisbane, Boss Surveillance Systems, Bauer Media, Racing Ears Custom Ear Protection, 83D Printing, cutting edge tracks and RSW graphics.
All right. Well done, mate. Very nice performance from you. I mean, what's the plan of attack between now and next week? Because obviously, you know that there's one hand already on the title. You know the implications, the equations, the scenarios with regards to wrapping it up. Um, what do you do to get yourself ready for mentally and physically for the 250 kilometers of racing next Tuesday night?
Just the same as always. Just do some laps, try and dial the setup in, and yeah, just get comfortable with the car. Haven't driven around Bathurst for a little while, so yeah, it might take me a little while to get back to pace, but yeah, it should be just the same as always.
I mean, we know it's the mountain and it's a circuit that challenges everybody. Is it a circuit that you're comfortable with once you get into a rhythm and once you've had a little bit of time to get your eye back in, so to speak?
Yeah, I can do once I'm back in the groove. It's fairly. I don't make too many mistakes around there, hopefully. So yeah, I can get into it once in a race. I can get into the groove, and I just yeah keep punching laps out.
Are there any officials there between now and then that you can get a little bit of race time as well, or not?
No, not really. I know Scops is coming up at Bathurst in the next few weeks, so I do some practice uh, in line with the Scops, but I'm not racing there in Scops, unfortunately. But yeah,
Are you someone that finds it easier to prepare for a championship race by doing official races or just by clocking laps in a practice server?
uh, I, th- when it lines up with official, it just makes it more convenient. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I forget because we've had this discussion before, but whereabouts in the country are you based?
Queensland.
So you're up here, so you've got the potential to go real world racing as well if you wanted any karting on the agenda anytime soon.
Yeah, I got race meet coming up at Ipswich this weekend.
Lovely part of the world. I won't be out there because unfortunately I've got motocross commitments in Coolum. Otherwise, it'd be tempting to come out and have a look. Great kart track, great racing. We wish you the best of luck. Let us know how you go next week when we chat to you here as well, mate. Um, Given that it's just you and I at this point in time, I think we might let you have an early mark. So thank you for that. And we've already allowed you to thank your sponsors as well. So I'm glad we were able to do that. Maddie Di Rosario got bronze, and she was the first of the T53 contingent home in the 1500 final, the two ahead of her T54. But Maddie Di Rosario gets a bronze to go with her. I think she got a silver earlier in the week as well. So or was it gold? I can't remember. I'm trying to keep up with everything at the moment and struggling immensely. But Matty Di Rosario's had an all right campaign in in Tokyo in the Paralympic Games. In fact, the Aussies have done well as a whole. Dylan, well done, mate. Congratulations. Nice performance again. You're racking up some impressive numbers as far as the W's are concerned and the polls as well. Let's see if you can finish it off and put the icing on the cake next week, mate. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for your time as per usual. And that was Dylan Rudd. That was the Racecraft Simulations Phillip Island 160. This is the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. And it's all made possible with thanks to the great people at Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Rana, Racecraft Simulations, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Devon Stove Design, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and FU Suicide, along with SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet. And of course, it's brought to you by the great people here at SimShed Broadcasting. Let's have a look ahead because, by gee, there's some good racing coming away. No doubt about that. Tomorrow night, have a look at that. RSRA Super 2 E Series, Wednesday night, 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Dean Reddit doubles up, but not in a driving sense. He goes from the cockpit to the commentary box and joins Matt Davis for all the action there tomorrow night. From back here at the Island, Super 2 E Series from 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Weekend Warriors Cup car racing. Billy Hickey's been doing a good job there, and he and JP and the cast of thousands, Mark Johansson and whoever else, will be around on Saturday night to bring you Weekend Warriors Cup car racing from 7:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm hoping to be back in the booth next week, but my schedule's got a hell of a lot busier in the real world as well, so we'll see how we can go with that. And then next Tuesday night, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, the grand finale, the the big banger, the big baby of the lot, and that is round 12 of the RSRA Super Series coming to you direct from Mount Panorama Bathurst. There's the calendar on your screen. This is the 12th and final stop next week in what has been 8 different countries, 12 weeks, 3 different race formats, and we end with a double super sprint next week as part of the Triple Crown. 16 laps, race 1, 26 race 2, reverse grid, 250 odd kilometres of racing for the night for you, and we can hardly wait to bring it to you. And the Holy Grail, the Mecca of Australian motorsport, plays host to the RSRA Super Series for the second time this year. Of course, we're back there to end season 1, you might recall, and what an absolute extraordinary night at the office that was. Tuesday, September 7, from the earlier time of 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Quick plug for something going on right now. Don't forget the Paralympic Games, rather, Commonwealth Games next year. Paralympic Games at the moment, Tokyo. They're on 7, mate. And over on a website known as 2mce.org, you can listen to a replay of the Brisbane Collision Centre Queensland Touring Car Championship with yours truly. If you haven't already heard enough of my voice tonight, there's 8.5 hours worth there. Take you through to 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, one for the insomniacs. That is for sure. So get amongst that if you please. In the meantime, that's it from us. Thanks to Chris Kisby. Thanks to JP. Thanks to the entire team. We've had great fun. We hope you have as well. Dylan Rudd gets another win in the RSRA Super Series from Rayner Costello. Great to have him back on the grid. Cameron Jones makes it 2 Fords on the podium. We're getting used to that. We just need them back on the top step to Kisby and I as closet Ford fans. Although that being said, there's no bias whatsoever from Kisby, and no hiding the fact that he's a Ford fan either at the same time. You get the best of both worlds with the Spirit of Tasmania. Great to have him back in the booth as well. Of course, he was in for half the race last week, and he'd been away for a couple before that, but good to have him back. Good to have your company wherever you're tuning in around Australia as well. Stick around for everything that's coming up on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Tomorrow night with the Super 2E Series, Matt Davis, Dean Reddit, and then, of course, Saturday night with the Weekend Warriors Cup Car competition. And don't forget, next Tuesday night, 315 points on the line. Dylan Rudd only needs to be leading by 155 at the end of race 1 to claim the title. There'll be a couple of people trying to rain on his parade, deny him the icing on the cake and the cherry on top. But he's got one hand firmly on that title, and we'll wait and see if he can finish it off next week. All that and plenty more coming your way right here on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting next Tuesday night from 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, Zach Caban bidding you a very good night. Thanks, Australia. Thanks for being with us. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. The Racecraft Simulations Phillip Island 160, won by Dylan Rudd. Bye for now.